Recording in progress.
Good morning. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners work session for Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. It's 10:33 a.m. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. To my left, Vice Chair Commissioner Wayne Fournier and Commissioner Rachel Grant. Commissioner Carolina Mejia on Zoom, and Commissioner Klaus is at the Onorca meeting and excused from today's session. We have live stream on the Thurston County YouTube channel, and written public comment may be received up to 2 hours in advance of the meeting and distributed to the board. Action may be taken at this meeting. We had a couple of changes, or at least one. I'm gonna ask clerk of the board to kind of go over that before we get started.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Before you, you have the packet for today's meeting. That includes the posted agenda. And you have an agenda with a proposed motion to amend to include the item from yesterday, which was the resolution for the 2026 property tax levy certification.
So I'd like to move to accept the agenda as amended, moving to amend the agenda to add the resolution for 2026 property tax levy certification. I'd also like to add to commissioner items. I know we can riff on commissioner items, but I'd like to talk about the idea of a Board of County Commissioners joint statement on the budget and comp plan completion.
Is there a second to that motion?
Oh, second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to add, to amend the agenda to add the property tax levy certification item from yesterday, as well as a discussion under Commissioner item 3 for a joint board statement about comp plan and budget. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries, and then now a vote, motion to approve the agenda as amended. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, motion is properly amended and approved. So first up is Thurston County Medic 1 Medic Unit Walkthrough.
Thanks so much. Ben, why don't you come and join us so that before we break the public notice, the exciting opportunity we have and news that you're going to share.
Yes, absolutely. For everybody's awareness, good morning. Ben Miller-Todd, Director of Emergency Services. We're excited to be able to do a walkthrough of the new medic units that are going to be deployed throughout Thurston County. The first units will be deployed through Olympia Fire Department. We'll then migrate over to Lacey Fire District 3. And finally, this summer, we'll finish up the entire frontline rotation with Tumwater. We're excited about this because it's a holistic change to how we treat our patients in our paramedic units. And so we're excited to be able to do a walkthrough, look at the new equipment that will be deployed as well as the new configuration. And on top of that, it also highlights a new wrap on the vehicles themselves. And so we're excited to be able to share that with each of you today. And then throughout the course of this month, over the course of the next month, there'll be a number of press releases as these are rolled out amongst our partner agencies.
So we'd like to suggest, Chair, a brief recess so that we can go out. I believe the unit's actually parked out.
Out back, undercover.
Out back. So that,
15 minutes, let's say.
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, it's 10:37. We'll be in recess until 10:52.
Recording. Recording in progress.
All right, it's 10:55. We have completed item 1, which is our medic unit walkthrough. That was super interesting to see the new units that we've been able to fund and equip with some really awesome equipment. So we're picking up now with item 2, which is the new addition from yesterday's agenda where we were reviewing the 2026 property tax levy certification. I know a couple commissioners wanted to look into a few items, and I guess I'll just let county manager lead us through this one.
Thanks so much. Yeah, we were able to send that information out yesterday, both the PowerPoint and the worksheets. And so I'll hand over to Summer just to give a quick high-level overview. And if there aren't any questions, then we would suggest handing back over to you, Chair, for the proposed motion.
Okay, so yesterday we did a quick review of the 2026 levy certification. The intent of the levy certification is to ensure that the board is aware that a budget has been working with members of the assessor's office to work through preliminary assessed valuations as well as final assessed valuations to determine what our next year's property tax levy collection amounts will be across the general fund, roads, conservation futures, and Medic One with the levy lid lift increases. I did send over the worksheets for you to review. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. If there's anything specific that you'd like to review again, happy to bring that up. But I believe that's pretty much the short of it. We do need to certify taxes a little bit higher than what we estimate them to be based on the preliminary and final assessed valuations because the board essentially has one shot at certifying taxes because of the time of the year in which you certify. We want to maximize the rate of collection. If we certify anything less than what the final figures come back in January, then you will not be able to collect more than you certify. Any questions? Anything you'd like to review?
No, thank you for sending that. It's helpful.
Okay,
I
no,
move to approve the resolution to certify the 2026 property tax levies for the general fund, roads, Medic One, and conservation futures to be collected in 2026 and authorize a road levy shift in the amount of $4,700,000 and a road diversion to the current expense fund of $1,500,000.
Second.
motion and second to approve the resolution regarding property tax levies. Discussion on that motion? Call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? 4-0.
Great.
Motion's approved. That
Perfect.
brings us to item 3, federal legislative priorities.
Thanks so much, Chair. Back when we were doing the state legislative priorities, commissioners asked if we could have a conversation when ready to talk about federal priorities. And so what we have done, included in your packet, is just jot down several bullet points of things that we have heard in conversation. This is in no way, they're not listed by priority, or that we're not saying this is comprehensive. This is more just for the start of the discussion based on what we're tracking. And with that, we look forward to hearing some board input. Our desire would be to create a similar priority sheet like we have for the state priorities. We want also for the federal priorities.
Yes, Commissioner Mejia.
Thank you. We're removing the Martin Way corridor based on discussions that we've had, right? That was the email that we got?
Yeah.
Okay,
Moving it, meaning what?
like removing it from.
Removing it, okay.
Yeah. And I believe it was an email that Josh sent. It was based on conversations that they had with the rest of the jurisdictions and kind of based at this time. So
Remove.
just wanted clarification if that was still the case.
Yes, it is. Thanks.
Thank you.
Can somebody remind me about the DNR proposed utilities? This is about a housing project, is that correct?
Correct.
A
And
specific one, or is it a general authority to do types of projects?
it is. Can you repeat your question?
Well, is it related to a specific project, or is it like giving them latitude to do something so that they could do, you know, I know there was Crosby Carter was working at one point with a DNR as an employee, like trying to programmatically take certain DNR properties that no longer had timber revenue capacity and creating housing projects, and they needed some like legislative changes to allow them to do things.
To hook up to utilities,
Sure.
municipal
No.
utilities?
Yeah, so I believe that we can remove this one at a time for now because it wouldn't be our request anyways, it would have to be from and so DNR, I know Senator Cantwell is still interested in this project and you are correct, Commissioner Mensah, this was the project where Crosby Carter, when she worked at DNR, there was this site that they were
Pilot.
it was a pilot to kind of have with our local jurisdictions, the county and the city of Lacey to turn it into housing. And since then Crosby is no longer with DNR. And so I know there are still conversations about that property and converting it into housing. You know, there have been some conversations with DNR, but nothing is quite finalized yet, and there's just been a lot of moving pieces with the city of Lacey as well, so I think that this one is not yet cooked in order for it to be on our federal legislative priorities. So I also would recommend removing it.
Okay. And then the next one regarding DNR revenue streams to junior, I guess I'm just curious how that connects to federal. That seems like a state, there's a bill on that, and I think we're supporting that bill, I hope. But how would that be federal?
I don't know that it is. It might have just been, since it was on the original document down at the bottom, it might have been accidentally placed here, so. we just
Get rid of
recommend-
that one, okay. So jail space, water rights, and courthouse is what's left on this list.
Is Thurston County Regional Justice Center the right way to phrase that? Like, cause we're talking about our courthouse / administrative complex. How do we wanna label that?
That's a great question. I think we've just been using working titles, so
Yeah.
if the commissioners wanna, we can do it here. If you wanna brainstorm with ideas and email them to Josh, bring that back to the commission, or we can kick it around here.
Yeah, I think it would be good to reach out to our delegates, our congressional delegates, and kind of ask them what would. I know Congresswoman Strickland last year when we met with her, she had a couple of names of things that she thought could kind of get us across the finish line.
Sure.
So maybe reaching out to Sarah DeBell and asking, like, we're interested in submitting this, what name would work?
And how do we brand it?
I
to
would
make it-
agree with that, because giving you a little history, when we were working on the original proposal, there was a lot of discussion about that. And there were differences of opinion, and we went round and round, kind of chasing our tail. I mean, on one hand, you wanna capture all the stuff it's gonna do, right? Like but then like those names.
Muddy the water.
Those sounded too vague or not clear, and there's more passion sometimes for the justice system, there's more people can kind of get behind, so like, some people thought we should, even though it was gonna include administration, we shouldn't really emphasize that, we should give it a more pithy, like, justice-oriented name. But then other people felt like, well, no, it's more than, like, just what Commissioner Fournier said, like, it's more than that, we want the community to know everything that this is gonna do, and we never hit on a satisfactory title, so I would defer to the legislators that actually have to take action and can say, this is gonna be more effective in my circles, cause I don't think I care at this point.
With the state, we're being courthouse specific because it's courthouse directed funding, supporting court functions, and there's a reason for that. Like this, cause this is a complete public service facility.
And
Yeah, we'll definitely reach out.
I think with on the jail space crisis too, I think the same thing, like we should be asking what part of the jail, where that might fit in, and maybe have a conversation with Sarah about, like, are they focusing on, maybe we can get additional funding for mental health, which will divert money for, you know, I mean, there might be different things that we could focus on that has to do with jail space.
Yeah, all I've been told is if we ask for money for jail
You're not gonna get
space,
a dollar.
you're shooting yourself in the foot.
But maybe it's if we frame it around like beds for you know, high acuity
Mental
you know,
health.
mental health, like if there's a way that we can frame it where it kind of fits certain pieces that I think might be also a good one to ask.
Yeah, and a big part of like, you know, I'm sitting on the national, or the federal NACO Healthy County Steering Committee, and, you know, we're talking a lot about mostly about crisis, right? That, I mean, that's like the big dollars are gonna come out this year around to support local crisis or like Medic One and you know, and so I think that there might be you know, and also the other thing is they're really working hard to try to get people within to change the Medicaid rules so that someone that's in the jail doesn't completely lose their Medicaid. So there's the ability for us to bill Medicaid at some point, but they've been fighting for that for like 6 years. So yeah, so I don't think that'll happen, but we should ask if they have anything top of
Well, if you
mind.
think about it, you know, we are using, in our jail, we are using the single cell that we have for mental health situations. So it's not a stretch for me to think that if we were to seek money for a mental health wing or whatever, that could dovetail with some of our highest priority, like single cell needs, like that could, those aren't incompatible uses, that's how we're doing it now. And it might be a way to plug into, like as you were saying, Commissioner Grant, plugging into a funding stream.
I think also as we reach out to our congressional delegates, seeing who is interested in what, I know Representative Glusenkamp Perez, we had a long conversation with her about the jail space crisis and mental health, acuity, and all of these different pieces. She was kind of keying, like she was interested in kind of what we were doing, and so I know that once we're submitting these kind of requests, only with some of them, you can only submit one application. And so if we know at least like this is a high priority for this congressional office, right, we won't have to be guessing. So starting to have those conversations, I think is important.
Well, so I was talking to Joe Avalos yesterday too, and you know, the whole thing with connections coming, you know, we're having all these conversations about, you know, the need for additional funding for that project in order for it to be, you know, like what's it gonna look like? And they are gonna need more capital. I mean, I just wanna like put that out there that when we think about jail space crisis, you know, when we say like what Wayne was saying about, you know, no more jails, like they don't want you to build the jail out, they want you to build the resources out in the community. And so one of the rules that changed this year is that it says that that crisis center has to take all police drop-offs, right? And so the police drop-offs will come in the back. That's a new rule that has to do with crisis centers. And so using that as a, you know, you could, instead of having to build more beds, we could be, you know, funding the additional things that they need at Connections. Something like that might be worth looking at, whether it's a capital request for the extra couple $1 million, and because we know we won't get operating funds for further years, but something in that realm might work too. Yeah.
What was the facility that Representative Abarno was telling us we should go check out in Lewis County?
You may know he said he was able to stitch funding together for something like what we're talking about in Lewis County. Cascadia, it started with a Cia.
It wasn't Connections, yeah.
He wanted us to kind of, he was pretty excited about it, cause he had just basically done that there and he thought he could, you know, we needed it and he would help us try to do it here. And he even invited us to go down and take a look at what
Who is that?
Peter Abarno, representative from LD 20,
Hmm.
which has a piece of South County.
And you said it's called Cascadia?
Yeah, and so Joe knows about it because I let him know kind of how that conversation went, and he's going to be meeting with Representative Barno. With Connections right now, it's still ongoing with the governor's office and OFM, and trying to kind of fix what HCA has put in the budget, and so it's just continuing conversations, but I did let Joe know that he needed to talk to Representative Abarno about kind of what they did in Lewis County and how they were able to kind of patch it together and see if that was a possibility too.
I mean, I think that's the ultimate goal,
Yeah.
right, is that we know the Connections project's coming. The big question though is, will it look like a 16-bed facility, or will it be a 16-bed facility and rocking chairs, so 16 more beds? And is there a potential for 16 more beds? And every time we say something, we add another 16 beds, like up in Kirkland, they actually have single cell rooms. Right now, the project wouldn't include that, but eventually, you know, if we had the ability to do that at this facility, then that's 16 slots at the jail that we wouldn't have to use. So just, you know, keeping that in mind as we move forward and think about what legislators might be more, you know, like Lauren Davis and others who are really interested in this would be more interested in funding those projects than adding more jail cells, so.
There's a good perspectives. We've taken some good notes. Any other thoughts?
So those two were it sounds like our courthouse, however we wanna characterize that, and our jail issues are two that we wanna try to promote if there's a way. And then the last one that on the list we didn't cross out was water rights and TransAlta. I'm not sure.
We just talked about,
Yeah.
did we solve that problem yesterday?
Yeah.
I think we did, didn't we? What? We solved problems?
What do we need from the federal government, Ashley?
I think that it was state legislative changes that
Okay.
we were requesting.
Yeah,
on
like
the wrong
the
list.
ability to
To
use conservation futures or
Like a funding
clarification, that's a state level item.
I think it got put on earlier this year as we didn't know which funding was available or if we were gonna get any grants to see if there was a possibility to go to it, but seeing that we got that amazing grant, yeah, crossed out.
Anything else we wanna include as a federal priority? Commissioner Mejia.
Thank you. Fairgrounds Part 2.
Ooh.
Right?
So we got the first round of fairground funding, which is very exciting. Finally, it went through. And so I think starting the request for that second phase,
Yeah, we'll put
What's
that
in the second phase, can you remind me?
the actual building.
Oh, it's like more planning and stuff that we got.
Ashley's here, she'll probably be able to
Yeah,
It's the water
clarify.
slides, right?
Come on up, Ashley.
water slides.
The wave pool, is it the wave pool?
Yeah.
What got funded and what's left to be funded? That's the question.
So we are hoping to have a basic structure, very basic structure, as a result of the first round of funding, but any additional funding will be put toward, like, we won't have walls on that. We won't necessarily have it be finished. We won't have an ability to heat or cool it. And so all of that would be a phase 2
Just
funding.
trying to get to the agriplex concept.
So right now, we're focusing on like making sure we're meeting the needs of our 4-H community and our ag community for things like emergency response. We really want a pole barn in place, but they're very modular. So once you have that structure there, then you can add on and build it out.
Plans?
I'm sorry?
Like plans, design plans and stuff like that, or we not got that far yet?
So with the pole barns, it's just a kit.
Okay,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
purchase a kit.
But we know where that's gonna go, what it's gonna look like, how big it's gonna be.
So last time we were at the fair, do you remember the big white tent where the llamas and alpacas?
Sheep.
Sheep, the sheep,
The
tent,
sheep-
yeah, yeah.
the
new
sheep and goat
barn
tent.
thing without
Sheep and
the
goat
walls, yeah, yeah.
Yep, so that's a much smaller footprint. We're looking at 18 to 20,000 square foot pole barn. Is what we're hoping we can afford with the money we have now. We're doing all of that legwork though to figure it out.
Which is permitting and all the process that
Yes.
any other builder would have to go through.
I just like to
Fairgrounds is going
figure
through
out how to
now.
do a better way to like make that whole facility gel better. It just feels like everything is like, over the years has been, no, let's put that there, let's put that there, and there's a hodgepodge of buildings now that just doesn't flow.
That would be a phase two.
They've done a great job with the money that's been provided them.
Certainly,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that at all.
Which has been none, so.
Yeah, and we're
Very,
taking
very
a
minimal.
similar approach with this money. We're very grateful and in trying to work with our stakeholders that are using the fairgrounds today, trying to figure out how to meet as many of those needs as possible in the near term.
So let's do it real quick. So the concept is turn the ground, and that's what we've done that, put the tent up, get a pole barn, that's what we just got the grant for, put walls on the pole barn, use that as a community space and a revenue generator. So that's the long-term goal, is to have that be a revenue generator. The phase that we're at now is the pole barn phase, which creates a place for emergency shelter and 4-H. So we're working through that phase process right now, but the goal is that it creates revenue. And I think Thomasina out of the fairgrounds has done a great job of pulling these pieces together and continuing to march it forward.
So part two would be needed and, and
Yep.
something that we would look to add to the list. That's the board's consensus.
Yeah.
Right, one thumb? Two thumbs.
Sure.
Three thumbs.
So,
Something that's not on the, do we already know that one? Something not on the list is the emergency responder protection legislation that Emily Randall is promoting and she's introduced, and it's something that originated in this boardroom. So I feel like, you know, there's something that we created that is now being debated and at the national level, we should probably have that on our lobbying agenda.
the
It's
title
also in the state.
I'm sorry, say the title again?
Matt, do you remember the bill number?
Emergency Responders Act, I think is what the title is.
Okay, thank you.
So then that's not money?
that's not
It's not money, it's not money, it's legislation, it's something that we created that they're debating in Congress and they're gonna be debating at the Capitol as well. It's not on our state lobbying agenda, but it's something I think that we should all be aware of and promoting, cause it came from us and it's being debated in DC.
Yep, I like to have something that's not just money.
money.
And I would say that I don't actually know exactly, but I would say that tomorrow I have a workforce consortium meeting. And I think just lobbying, when we're talking about one of the things that federal wise that will be wanting to think about, and I don't know the exact words or what exactly we should be lobbying, but it's WIOA, so it's like workforce in it. It's the federal dollars that come, have been cut, they were cut last year, and so getting those reinstated. And I can bring that back.
Sure.
After I hear tomorrow exactly what the comprehensive regional federal priorities are gonna be for workforce.
The WIOA funds
Yeah,
are
WIOA,
super important to workforce development agencies. I think it's workforce innovation, something.
Yeah, opportunity advancement or something like that, yeah.
So if those fundings are gonna be, go away or diverted, we should advocate for our local workforce to keep them
That should be a bipartisan
totally.
Yeah.
priority.
Priority, yeah.
Should
So
be.
like SRS, yeah, like
Well, I
yesterday.
mean, just,
Yeah.
it's something that we can argue to anybody with a straight face. All right, well, does that sound like a good roundup? You got what you need, county manager?
Thank you.
If anybody thinks it's anything else, shoot it to the county manager.
Yeah.
Cause sometimes, you walk out of here and, oh, I forgot to say that. Let's go to the,
That one was county.
That overpass.
Yeah. We need to give an update to the board, I think, just to see that we can approach it, sorry.
item 4 is 2026 NACO conference, and it's February 21st to 24th.
This is more of just a quick update. There's no action that's requested.
This is not the NACO conference, this is the LEG conference, right?
No, Nick.
It's the NACO Legislative Conference.
Okay, yeah, cause there's the NACO conference.
summer
that
one is like the
big one
general
that is the general one that everybody goes to.
Yes.
And the legislative one is the one that the
DC.
Yes.
legislative team goes to.
Yeah, this is more of just a update that we have scheduled right now 3 commissioners to attend. So on these dates, the clerk will just send notice that we'll be canceling those meetings for lack of quorum. And I don't think there's anything pressing during that time. I think there's an
No.
agenda review maybe.
It's one agenda setting.
Is.
Yeah.
So it was, there was, that's where it got weird last year, and it was like a last minute thing where we heard that there was a third, I think it was Emily that came last year, we had to convey that we cannot schedule visits as a quorum.
Right.
And I don't think that was conveyed to her until like after she was mid-flight, and I think that might have caused some confusion once we got there.
Gotcha.
So, is it Emily that's,
No, it's me.
okay, so don't be, yeah, just, I don't want any confusion again when, you know, like if we're reaching out and we're, you know, scheduling meetings with our congressional delegates, that nobody's being excluded because we can't do a quorum.
Okay.
Who schedules the meetings?
Yeah, I was
though?
gonna say,
We
I
always
was
had
saying,
Matt-
maybe we
like
could
Matt
think
and
about,
Taylor's scheduled them all
set,
the time.
join and choose, yeah,
Yeah.
instead of it just being, yeah,
Whoever's setting them up,
Yeah.
happy to do that.
makes sense. You guys can figure out who should cover which items.
Yeah, so there's no issue, just more of an awareness. I think we didn't do this last year and there might have been a commissioner or two that were a little bit confused, so I think it's great to have that representation. And we'll just notice that on the master calendar. And then since our quorum is going, is there other noticing we have to do?
No, we do not notice it as a special meeting, and that is why county business cannot be discussed as a quorum there.
Okay, very good. That's all on that one, Chair.
All right, next up is Commissioner Item 1, Home Energy Score Model Ordinance. We've got the packet which shows the meeting minutes from October when we addressed this, and at that point, we were going to we gave direction to staff to do further outreach in January and February for broader community input and status updates from local jurisdictions, then revisit the item with board for direction on a potential public hearing on the ordinance. No board action at that time. Commissioner Mejia is asked to revisit the topic, so here we are.
Yes, thank you. So I know that was kind of some of the board requests, but you know, I went through kind of all of the public outreach that had been done, and after that, I just, you know, for me, like, again, like adding this back to staff's place to do even more public outreach, I think it's been talked about for a long time, and I don't know, I just feel like the board should just move forward with it. So that's kind of my request is, you know, for the board to kind of give thumbs up and move forward with the home energy score. And I know, Commissioner Menser, you've done, you know, you were on the committee, and so you know, like, a lot about this, and you know, I just think that there's a lot of work that's already been done on it.
Maybe you turn to Ashley. See, I mean, how do you, what's your reaction to the board taking quicker action rather than following the direction that was given in October?
Yeah, and my understanding of the outreach is that it was fairly focused on stakeholders that are engaged in climate mitigation, and versus like a more broad outreach to South County. So we've already developed an outreach plan that we would be able to launch in the January, February timeline that would just ensure that we are, you know, touching more of those stakeholder groups in South County. So our proposal was to put together a fact sheet, update the website, put together a short survey to just solicit feedback, since this is gonna be a mandatory requirement that would impact anyone selling a home. And then in terms of dissemination of those, we were gonna use social media. We're getting really good traction on our social media posts. Big thank you to Susan. We have an email distribution list that I think has over 1,500 folks that have engaged through our comp plan process. So our narrative was gonna be, hey, we're finishing up comp plan, and right out of the gate, we've got an action item. And then focused outreach to STEADY, to the Rochester Grand Mound Chamber, some of the housing nonprofits that haven't been included to date, so Homes First and Thurston Housing Land Trust, and then a broader outreach to the Realtors Association. I think there certain people representing the realtors participated to date, but not a general, like, we've been attending monthly meetings that they have to do comp plan outreach and using more of that forum.
So from the October 15th direction from the board, you've already started the packaging and the outreach.
Yeah, so we have a draft outreach plan. Miriam's team has put it together, working with Rebecca, and with the expectation that we would launch it in January once people aren't focused on the holidays and they might actually be able to retain more information.
So at the very beginning, did you, help me understand, did you source that the initial outreach that had been done so far was not comprehensive to the whole county?
That was my understanding, based on what Rebecca shared, and my review of the documents. And of course, I'm using the lens of how we do outreach in CPED for things like comp plan or for things that are gonna affect the whole county. We kind of have our list that we use to make sure we're touching as many stakeholder groups as possible and just wanting to be consistent. We're coming in late on this particular item, but wanting to still apply that CPED engagement approach. So that when we get to public hearing, we'll be able to say, yes, we've done everything we can to try to make sure that people are aware of this and have a voice, to provide feedback to you all.
Commissioner Fournier.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, I think you're right, that the places that would be most concerned are the places you listed, and when we're mandating things like that, and if you're telling us that outreach hasn't been done, it would be wise for us to listen and ensure that we do that. I would support the broader outreach and making sure that we check those boxes or do that work. I'm wondering, just because we were talking about septic tanks last night and self-certification, is there a way to have self-certification on the home energy score to where we're not passing on this cost to residents? And I would imagine that you could train somebody and you could have a checklist. Is your insulation proper? Is it update? I would think that I could do a self-assessment on my house and provide that information to the realtor about, my grade or something like that. There's gotta be a way to do that to where we're not creating an extra fee for homeowners.
Well, I think that's why engagement is so important, because it's that kind of feedback that may be solicited in this outreach. And there might be quick answers that can be provided from the folks who've been working on this, but I think there still should be a forum
Yeah.
for you all to hear that feedback and consider
Is
it.
that a thought? Just my house was built in 4 years ago. I think it would be silly for me to have to hire somebody to tell me that my house meets the energy code that was passed 4 years ago.
I think for the score to be valuable, it needs to be super consistent in the criteria that's applied, and there's a little more to it in terms of evaluating, calculating the energy use based on the types of appliances and, heating system you have. So I think, I just
can
think
figure that out.
you probably could, but not every Joe Blow homeowner, I don't know that we wanna.
Just like our septic self-certification thing, they'd have to come and go through a PowerPoint.
But this is where you're asking, for this to be good, buyers need to be able to compare apples to apples, home to home. Okay, this one's got a 52, this one's, I don't know exactly what the score matrix is, but that one's a 19. I'm going with this one, and that has to be really for me to rely on that, on my decision making, I gotta know that the same exact criteria by somebody with a certain level of understanding of energy is doing the scoring. Or else it just kind of, I think, collapses into meaninglessness. Go ahead, Commissioner McKee.
Thank you. I think that broader outreach can still be done, as this is being implemented. I would like to remind the board that we have an ongoing declaration of emergency for climate change in Thurston County that the board adopted, and as this has been a long time coming. It's been work that's been done for, I'm not even, Commissioner Menser, how long has this been discussed?
5 years.
And throughout those 5 years, I think that this is something that the board can pass, and then I believe that, you know, broader outreach, because education is going to have to be done regardless. Because as, you know, anytime something new passes, there has to be that education that goes along with it, and so, you know, for me, I believe that, you know, we can't say that there is an emergency in one hand and then kind of let 5 years pass and then kind of slow it down at the end.
Commissioner Grant?
I'm okay with us moving this forward, and I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that. I also want to just mention that I'm gonna virtually listen to the rest of this meeting because I have to drive home really quick before I get to our next event. And so I'm gonna bow out right now, but I am, you know, I'm in support of the ordinance and I'm okay with whatever, you know, you get a thumbs up from me, so.
I think, before you take off real quick, I think the ordinance, that's not the concern that the CPED director has expressed. It's more the outreach and engagement and the trust that CPED has built with our whole county. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, if I can speak frankly, when we talked about climate mitigation in South County, we were very intentional to try to talk about it in a way that would connect to people, and get their buy-in to our new comprehensive plan and the vision and whatnot. And I would like to honor that relationship that we've built and the trust that we've built, and making sure that first action item out of the gate, it's gonna be a mandatory cost for folks. And so being able to tell that story in a broader way on like how it relates to these ongoing conversation we've been having with them. And education is different than engagement, right? Engagement is a two-way conversation, and being able to say like, you have a voice in this and shaping this, versus we're just letting you know that this is happening to you. So if.
I'm
Yep.
hearing from Ashley that she needs this, that there's relationships that she's built that she wants to make sure she's honoring across the county. And I don't think anybody's trying to say that this is not a good idea. You know, I as a home buyer would want this type of information, honestly. It would help me make a better informed decision. So like I have to listen to staff, and I would like to see us take that into consideration.
In terms of timing, I would say at the same time that we'd be doing this, Rebecca is still doing technical work to figure out pieces of this ordinance and how it would be implemented. So we're supporting that as well. In particular, the compliance piece is one that we still need to figure out. And so those things would be on parallel tracks.
And just like, speaking of timing, the direction was given in October. It's now December. Thank you. When do you plan on being back to the board with the outreach that the board requested?
February.
So it's not like.
Yeah, I guess I'm leaning toward honoring the request of staff. I guess it sounds like, and Commissioner, just for the record, Commissioner Klaus contacted me and said she was supportive of Commissioner Mejia's request. So there's a lot of board energy to get this across the finish line. So I think it's fair to say that what I'm hearing from the board is we don't want these timelines to slip, and this should be a priority, and so that we can get this thing, like, I'd like to see this in March passed at the latest, honestly, because unless we hear something, you know, crazy, or we hit a roadblock that we didn't anticipate, but
Chair, I think based on the timeline, we could probably commit to doing the outreach in January, wrapping it up, and then bringing it probably the second meeting in February.
I think we discussed a public hearing, but it's not mandatory,
It's
is
not
it?
mandatory, and I think what
Depending on
happened-
what we hear in feedback, I may not support a public hearing.
And the discussion for the public hearing was when we didn't know that there was an engagement process. That I believed the instruction from the staff, from the board was, if CPED needs to do an engagement process, then let them do the engagement process and then bring that back. And it wasn't like, and then a public hearing has to happen.
So, yeah, County Manager, in terms of the engagement, the public public hearing doesn't have to happen for the engagement, but if there is a code or ordinance change, there may need to be some formal
Gotcha,
process.
it's procedural. Okay,
But we can wrap that into the messaging is that we're setting people up to participate in a public hearing, so you're not doing engagement and then you have a lag time before you have a
Good.
public hearing scheduled, and so all that can feed into.
yeah, if we can dovetail those two in, and maybe what we can do for commissioners, we understand that the community is interested and rightfully so moving this forward. Maybe we can come up with a time frame so that commissioners have something to share with those that are interested in how is this gonna move forward. Because if you're not on the inside of government, sometimes it looks like we just put things off in the horizon, not realizing that there's a lot of other stuff working on and there could be a concern we may not get to it. So if we could have a path of travel for this, how we're gonna get to the dates, when it's gonna be proposed, and then to Commissioner Mentzer's point, we can make sure that we're not slipping on those timeframes.
Definitely, and I think also taking a broader view for those that are interested in climate change, maybe some of the things that we've done and within CPED and that the board has directed in the comp plan. This is a holistic view, and what Ashley said at the beginning is they have worked really hard to bring South County along on the climate change goals in the comp plan, and they're with us at this point. So it would be difficult to potentially go too fast and have a loss when we're trying to do something good. Do you want to speak to some of the great things that we've accomplished in CPED with board direction on climate change?
Before that, I do wanna make a correction, like, this hasn't been fast, I mean, 5 years. Like this, it hasn't been a fast process.
What do you mean?
It's been 5 years that this has been discussed in different levels of committees and outreach and all of that. So when we're saying this is fast approaching, that's not true, like,
What did I say was fast?
you did.
What did I say was fast? I don't remember.
You said that, you know, like, when things move fast, so.
Gotcha, we're hearing that there are those that are waiting for this and it's been taking a long, 5 years is a long time, so definitely acknowledged.
Maybe I was referring to the direction in October. So I'd asked if you wanted to share some of the great things that we've been able to accomplish in regards to climate change.
There's, I mean, the comp plan in and of itself is been a huge lift with a brand new climate element and all of the rural water availability policies, all the conservation policies baked in there. They're all in response to climate resiliency. The new tree conservation chapter, which essentially puts us at the leading edge of tree conservation in Washington State. Energize Thurston has been a success and we're working on the renewal of that program right now. Of course, there's a lot of other projects that Rebecca has worked on over the last 2 years.
So good job on that. I think we have our direction to proceed unless the board would like to provide any other direction.
I'm still of just
Yeah,
passing
I
it,
don't
like,
think we
moving
have-
it forward, I mean,
I don't think there's 3 votes today to move it forward, so I think we should.
I can't, if the
The
staff
backup.
is telling me that South County hasn't been reached out to in a way that they need to do that, I can't, those are, you know, that's the district that I'm representing, and I wanna make sure that they're involved and engaged and.
and can I make a correction on that, because through the fellows program, and you kind of can see that, like, there was outreach done to South County, like, I mean, there was with just different aspects, there were Zoom, like, you know, Zoom trainings that they did, like, so there was outreach done, like, you know, saying that there was no outreach done to South County, that's,
Certainly, but I would also argue that the previous iteration of Thurston County didn't do a good job of nurturing and managing the relationships there. And now we have a whole different team. We have a new director at CPED who is very engaged in doing that work. And she's only been there for, what, 6 months? Is it a year? How long you been?
Over a year
You've been the
now.
director now for a year? Okay, well, you've done a good job building those relationships and you wanna maintain and preserve those and respect those. And if you're telling me, for me, if you're telling me you need a minute to be able to do that work, I have to support that.
Okay, I think we have direction. I think there's majority direction, as I kind of laid out, about trying to keep the timelines tight and overlay them as best we can. See Commissioner Grant, I'd like to see that, those sort of things, you know, whatever can be compressed, so that we can get this to a final finish line as soon as feasible. I do respect the things that you brought out about the process. Commissioner Grant?
Yeah, I just wanna say that, I guess I was thinking that the direction we were giving was gonna be to do that additional outreach, and I'm kind of with Wayne where it does concern me that we haven't had, additional outreach. I just wonder if we could have a compromise here where, you know, we have some sort of public outreach that happens in this short timeline, at least one or two, like one in my district and one in Wayne's district, to at least make sure that we have done our due diligence to let people know that this is coming.
I think you might have missed that, but I think that's what Commissioner Menzer proposed and where we're at, and the
Okay.
CPED director has a pretty squared away engagement plan.
And then
Okay, good.
and Commissioner Graham will also come up with a pretty tight timeline so that the commissioners can communicate that. We do understand that 5 years is a long time for anything to be in the works, so there's probably stakeholders and groups that are waiting to see this happen and don't want it to be delayed.
Yeah, I mean, and just circling back to Commissioner Mia's original point, I would say that, you know, I know that tons of outreach has been done with respect to stakeholders, you know, realtors, builders, you know, Joe Public, you know, just the average homeowner may not have, you know, in Bucota or whatever, may not have seen that this is coming. I mean, there were opportunities for them to have seen it, but there wasn't a specific targeted outreach to like the public. You know, a lot of times we do things with the stakeholder groups, sort of relying on those groups to have constituencies that, you know, that the information flows down. So that kind of higher level outreach has been exhaustive. When it goes down to that bottom level where you're just trying to like blanket the public with information, you know, that's what I think that you're trying to get toward, to be able to check that box, so to speak, of us trying to say, you know, do things that might reach the average homeowner who's not has no financial stake in any of it, other than just, you know, it's a fee when they sell their house, but they're not a building group or a realtor group or a climate activist group or a environmental group of any kind, you know, that pay a particular attention.
So we will put together an e-brief that documents the timeline, what we'll be doing for engagement. So if there's any particular group that you want us to reach, we can do that. And we also don't want to delay, which is why we're gonna try to do these parallel things at the same time. We've already got to check into some of the nuts and bolts of the model ordinance. And we have to be able to communicate a public hearing, which has to be scheduled or set and scheduled and noticed at least 3 weeks out. So I think that if there is a delay, it's 2 to 3 weeks. It's not 2 to 3 months.
Commissioner Mejia?
Just one last point, I also would like to highlight that, you know, the Thurston Mason Lewis Labor Council is fully in support of us passing this as soon as possible too. So it's not just, you know, environmentalists, like there's been engagement with a broad spectrum of people, and so, you know, again, I'm just highlighting just the different pieces of the outreach that has already been done.
It's good to know. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, then let's move on to reports on external boards. Commissioner Grant, are you in a position to report on any external stuff for us?
Yeah, I only have one report, and it's just an acknowledgement that today at the Transportation Policy Board, both Pete Komet and John O'Callahan, who have served on Transportation Policy Board for over 20 years each, both this was their last one, and so just mentioning that out loud, that how grateful, it was just really great to hear, you know, all of the dedication that they've had, and you know, and anyway, I just wanted to say that publicly, that, you know, thank you for all of the work, and we'll definitely be missing their institutional knowledge, but that's the only thing that I had to report.
That is, having served on the Transportation Policy Board once upon a time, that is a major changing of the guard right there.
John was first elected in 1995. was a long time ago.
He's been there.
Yeah,
that
and I'm not, I know like Debbie Edwards, she's retiring as well. And I don't know who was elected first, but I know both of them have been elected for a long time in Thurston County.
Commissioner Mejia, external boards.
Give me a second.
Sure, Commissioner Fournier, anything?
The only one that I would be reporting on is the Econ board meeting, but I was at the appeal hearing for the quarry discussion that we were having instead, so I wasn't able to make that.
I would report, while you guys were at Board of Health, I was at a Board of Health adjacent meeting at Summit Lake where Public Health, CPED, Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, and Department of Ecology all presented to the Summit Lake community in a super well-attended town hall regarding septic issues. As you guys were here talking about septic, we were talking about what's going on in Summit Lake, about water management, about fish screening, and about water rights. Apparently, there's been some controversy. There's 9, like, water right applications take forever, and there's 9 pending at Summit Lake, and 1 just got denied, and it's being appealed. So there was that resident, as well as 8 others that have pending applications who are kind of trying to pick ecology's brain about why do we get denied, and how do we get, what do we do, and how is this whole thing managed? So it was kind of like Water Rights 101 from ecology about all of that, and really good presentation from Kevin Hansen of CPED about some new data collection that we're gonna be doing with some grant money to look at a lot of issues related to Summit Lake and Kennedy Creek and in-stream flows, and working with the tribe, Squaxin tribe on that. So anyway, it was a really good meeting. I was glad I made that decision to attend. I think they appreciated having a commissioner there, and we had Derek Day was there, and Catherine from the Public Health, and yeah, it's good. Other external, I feel like there was one other one. Slipping my mind at the moment, so Commissioner Mejia, anything?
Yeah, I have 2. First one is for intercity transit. And so the Intercity Transit Board adopted the May 2026 Service Change Summary and Equity Analysis, and that's kind of been work that's been going on for kind of like the past 2 years. And so there's going to be some education on, and this is set to launch in May 2026. And so there are some routes that are going to be changing. And this was based on basically the anticipated change includes the deployment of 25 new bus routes and a discontinuation of 17 existing routes. So there's going to be some education from now until May with the community about what those changes are. There was a lot of outreach done with people who are affected by these changes. And so this was done just because there was kind of an analysis that was done on to identify adverse impacts, basically for any proportionate disparity to minority and low income populations. And so yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, it's been a long time coming, and I think that it is very, very exciting. And we had a comment period, and we received a lot of public comment from several students and Evergreen side, and then we got comments from just different people, and so staff were trying to kind of just be sure that the model fit,
About the new routes proposals.
Yeah, so yeah, no, I think there was a lot of work done, and there's gonna be more education from now until May 2026 as this is going to be implemented. So big changes coming to intercity transit. And then for the TRPC, we had a long conversation about so there was they did kind of a crosswalk study for the Martin Way corridor, and they identified 10 locations, 10 different locations for the full area between the city of Olympia, Thurston County, and the city of Lacey. So the conversation around that was like, okay, like what happens next, right? Because we do these studies and then we kind of don't really have any follow through on it. One of my comments was like, we tend to do things in patchwork, and the Martin Way corridor is, supposed to be like this area of connectivity between the three jurisdictions, and yet, everyone does their design differently and does their approach differently. I did offer to Lacey if they did want to annex our areas, that we are always open to conversation on that piece. But for me, I would like to see us have those conversations, especially because I feel TRPC does these studies on the Martin Way corridor and then they sit on a shelf. And as we're approaching this like kind of conversation on what we're going to do on the area on a holistic approach in our docket process, I feel like this connects very well with the transportation, what improvements need to go in there, based on what land use we're gonna do. And just approaching those two in a holistic way, I think it would be appropriate, especially, between the three jurisdictions having that coordination that I feel is very sometimes lacking. As you're driving through the Martin Way corridor, you can tell which area you're in. No, you're in the city of Lacey, based on, kind of what asphalt or what concrete they lay down and based on the road conditions. So
Because Lacey has the best roads in the whole county.
I
They told me that.
I think that was stated, but there might be some disagreement out there. So
Really say that?
It was a couple years ago when we were giving our updates and Ty was giving his update, there was Andy's very proud of the roads, and so it was kind of almost a meme. He was mentioning how great the roads are, and so we've been teasing him about that since then.
So part of the proposed locations that are in Olympia are the DeVoe Street, the Bark Store, and 4500 Martin Way. There's 4 proposed locations in unincorporated Thurston County, and it's between Carpenter Road and Kingwood Street, the Thurston County Food Bank, School Street, and 7838 Martin Way, and 3 proposed locations in Lacey, which is Gerald Street, Black Hawk Lane, and Cooperwood Lane. And this was done on kind of like the accessibility and safety of the community where they, so this was a long study and these were the results. So I hope that as we continue on these studies that they're just not shelved, that we actually coordinate between the 3 jurisdictions. That was it.
Crosswalks.
That's simple as crosswalks. There was this whole thing about, Oh, it seems very simple to us. I know there's more that goes into it before ACM Walker says something.
All right. Then we'll go to the last item, which was an added item from Commissioner Fournier about a joint statement. And I know this came up this morning. Why don't you describe what you were talking about?
So it just, it kind of came to me yesterday when I was doing the interview with the Olympian on the budget that, there's a lot of work that's been done, and there's a lot of great accomplishments that have been had by the county and the and the staff. And I think it would be good for us to put out a joint statement, just so that we've got something that's, not, a reporter getting information from here and there and the other thing. Even though, they're doing that and they do their job. I would like to see, like we did, I think once or twice earlier this year, just a joint statement that lists everything out there. Because it is impressive that we went through a lot of budget work in a very difficult situation. We completed our comp plan, and I'm being told that we're way ahead of many other counties in completing that work. And there's a lot of nuances within each of those 2 elements. We also bought a new building. Those things I'd like to see put out in some type of statement from the county commissioners, like, hey, this is what we've adopted as our official position, and just put it out there.
And I would add to Commissioner Fournier's comments that this has been a very productive year for the county. And if you think about what the county has done, what our departments and offices have done in the midst of fiscal constraint, it's impressive. So rolling that up, when you mentioned it at earlier today, I've been thinking rolling that up into like a year-end review where we can ask office and departments. We had the auditor win a Washington State Association award that we announced at agenda setting. We won a significant amount of NACO awards for innovation and different developments. The grant that Ashley got for water rights, or CPED got on behalf of the county. So some of these things we've been waiting to get done for quite a
The
while.
ribbon cuttings we did this year,
Yeah.
like I've never had those kind of like between Green Cove, Boston Harbor.
Yeah, there's so many big things.
Junction,
It's,
like projects that have been,
trail extension opening.
yeah, the Gate Belmore. I mean, those are 4 huge ribbon cuttings for projects we've been talking about for years.
So what happens is I believe that there's a powerful message that despite fiscal constraints, and that's in its work in itself, as Commissioner Fournier mentioned, there's all these other things that we are doing, utilizing public resources efficiently, effectively. We don't want that to get lost, which is the end conversation of the year that we had to tighten the belt for the budget for 26-27.
Yeah. That's responsible government, and
Yes.
things can get contentious in here, and that's okay. That's the way it's supposed to work too. Democracy is all about conflict, and it's about competing ideas. And the fact that we come in here and we can talk those things out, and the community can come in here and hash those things out with us, you know, that is hard, but that's the work, you know? So I think these are all things that we should be proud of, and we should put it on paper. And we got the person for it.
Yeah, and to Susan's kind of awareness, we appreciate her being here, and we're just mindful that where we used to have a team of 4, we have a team of 1 and, well, really 2, but 1 permanent and 1 that's helping out. But we have seen significant strides since Susan has arrived. And we're gonna give her some space and time to help build the infrastructure, organizational infrastructure that's needed to really affect the communications approach here in the county. But I think we can
I
work
was singing your praise yesterday. Oh, emergency management and Medic One. They were saying how great you've done helping them get out their initiatives and their information, and that their CPR classes that you've been promoting those. They're having to schedule more CPR classes now because they're filling up so quick because you've been advertising them so well. I thought that was a cool compliment.
Thank you. Susan Melnick, Chief Communications Manager. I just really want to thank our staff and the commissioners. I only get great content if our staff is doing amazing things, which they already are, and all of you making the decisions that you are. So I love this idea about wrapping things up. I've already started putting together a little video of all of the video content we've taken over the last 5 months that I've been here. Really looking forward to continuing to let everybody know about what's happening here, and live streaming, which I also just came from the room doing.
Yeah, she's wearing multiple hats.
That's all
She's
right,
like,
we all
I'll
do
be
that
there, I'm
here.
gonna put it on wide shot and I'll be right in.
Well, since we haven't had you in front of the board in a meeting to give you kudos, so I'll use this opportunity. The stuff that you give me is so well written that like my editing is just like if I wanna, substantively add a thing, I don't have to like reword it, I don't have to rewrite it, cause it's all written so well.
That
And
is
that's-
that is high praise.
Yeah, and
I
I'm
mean-
kind of inattentive about that. Everybody knows that I'll rewrite things if I don't like the way it's written. And with your stuff, I just go, oh, let's add a sentence about this, and then I know you're gonna write it, integrate it, and I don't have to worry about it, which is a huge load off of my back.
If I could just give some credit to Stacy Klein, who's my partner in crime right now, and she's just absolutely amazing. So she does a lot of our writing, and I really
You guys are a
appreciate
good
her
team,
as
so
well.
I appreciate that.
Would you like a motion?
Yeah, to direct us.
Make a motion to direct staff to draft a Board of County Commissioners end of year statement, marking all the accomplishments we've made as stated.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that motion? Commissioner Grant?
This is Rachel. Yeah, I'm fine with this. I just like to make sure that we see the draft before it goes out.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. And that is the end of the agenda.
We'll go to Public Works.
Public Works a little bit later. It's 12 o'clock on the nose. We're adjourned.
Recording stopped.
You guys are going, right?